Good evening. The chair would like to call to order the Village of Lake Barrington Board of Trustees meeting for Tuesday, June the 9th, 2026. It is 7:08 p.m. and would the clerk please call the roll.
Trustee Brandon? Here. Trustee Hayes?
Present.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Schauer?
Here.
Trustee Schauer? Trustee Van Ryan? President Burke?
Here, thank you very much. Would you all please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance? Very good.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting date May 5th, 2026. Are there any questions, comments, corrections for the clerk? Any feedback up here? It's okay. I'll talk softly. If not, Chair would like a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting dated May 5th, 2026. Do I have such a motion? A move by Trustee Schauer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Brandon. Thank you. Clerk, please call.
Trustee Brandon?
Yes.
Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Schauer?
Yes.
President Burke?
Yes, thank you. Under President's remarks, we have two things to take care of tonight. I think we'll take them a little bit out of order. And we'd like to ask, I'm sorry for happening.
Christian Qual.
Christian, would you please come up and from Daryl Hamilton, he's presenting our annual MS Board presentation. So welcome, Christian.
Christian Qual, Water Resources Director from GHA, Daryl Hamilton Associates. We presented the year 23 MS4 annual public presentation. So year 23, that was the period between March 2025 and March 2026. So this presentation, it satisfies the village's requirement for the annual public updates for the MS4 stormwater water quality program under the federal NPDES permit. So I'll cover kind of what the permit does, what we did this year, and what's changing with the newly issued permit for next year. So to go over the program a little bit, so MS4 stands for Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. So it's that essentially all the network pipes, inlets, outfalls that carries the rainwater out the streets, and kind of parks and everything into the local creeks and lakes. So because this water reaches the waterways untreated, the Federal Clean Water Act requires that the village manage stormwater. And so the two cornerstones of the program are illicit discharge detection and elimination, and then the other kind of big cornerstone is pollution prevention with good housekeeping from municipal operations. So the photos here, these are during our inspections that our interns and other inspectors go out each year. They check for clogged inlets. They check for illicit discharge, so outfalls, everything that's entering, getting all the runout that's captured by the storm sewer system throughout the town and going into the creeks and the lakes. We inspect for illicit discharges, outfall discharges, and then stream bank erosion. So we check detention basins and stream bank shorelines to make sure if there's some issues there, we note it and add it to the annual report. These are the locations that we inspected this year. So the monitor stream bank beach over here, as well as the outfalls. So the program, it covers 5 years. So the mandate is that over that 5 years, kind of all the outfalls, stream banks, and detention areas throughout the village budgeted, so we typically do about 20% of each year. So that throughout the 5-year period, we go through everything and then kind of start all over again.
Before you move off that slide, so my kind of that straight, the red line, is that Flint Creek or what is that red line? You know,
So I'm trying to zoom in here. I don't know off the top of my head.
Looks like the stream from Grassy Lake into the Flint Creek. Those residences.
Yeah, that's Grassy Lake.
This is-
That is Grassy Lake. That's Grassy Lake. Is that Flint Lake? Oh yeah, that's Flint Lake, right? Flint Creek Lake,
This
whatever
is
that's
Stonehenge, so this is Old Road.
So that is part of Flint Creek, if I'm not mistaken, right? Flows out of the lake. Yeah. And I was just curious because
That's supposed to be a forest preserve there in Lake County.
right.
And from Grassy Lake, it runs to that pond where we were looking at helping residents.
Yeah. Okay. And then the outfalls are stars, but I don't see the stars. Are there stars on that map?
Yeah, there's one in the center.
That really light. Okay. And how many outfalls do you expect all total?
I believe
There's 11 stars.
There's 11 stars. Okay.
it's about 20%, so probably about 50
30
total.
stars.
You do 20% of them.
We do 20% each year, so the permit covers, so in the 5-year period that the permit is applicable, you have to do all the inspections. So there are a few priority outfalls that they're kind of identified as, there's a lot of discharge, or maybe there's an out, and those are discharge detected previously, and we'll do them more frequently than each year.
Very good, thank you.
Here's how the generated outfall inspection form looks like. We have the same thing for stream banks and detention basins. We do use a tablet, so it's through field maps. The inspectors kind of see where outfalls are and inspection locations. They go to that area. We notify the village beforehand that we'll be out there. They go out there, do the inspections, fill out the form on the tablet, and then generate all these outfall forms for records. So for each outfall, we document the physical features of the outfall, so material, shape, and condition. If there are some outfalls that are kind of failing, we notify the village. We look for water quality indicators, so look at the color, odor, algae deposits, and flow. And then the main thing with the permit is the screening to determine whether the illicit discharge is present. So if there's some indicators, it's not just one of these, it's usually a combination. So if there is if they do detect that there could be a potential illicit discharge, we are notified through an email, like automatically once they put it in the form, so then we can contact the village and proceed with trying to identify where the source of that is and eliminate it. And then we do the photo documentation of each one as well. So the ILR 40, per the IEPA, it should be coming out every 5 years. It has been 9 years since the last one's been out, so they've been just a little backed up. But they did reissue the new one in July 8th, 2025. That one took effect August 1st, 2025, and it will be effective for the next 5 years. And then anticipation that they'll come out with a new one July 23rd. So the 4 significant changes in that new permit are property inspections. So these will take effect not this year, but the following year. So starting March 2027 is when these actual inspections need to begin. So the property inspections, that will be for any village-owned properties that have some sort of stormwater infrastructure or some sort of vehicle access that could, if there's some oil leaks or something that could be getting up and into the stormwater system, those will need to be inspected. For the permit, that's 4 times a year for the first year, and if nothing is detected, then it's 2 times a year the following years. That's one of the big ones. Green infrastructure. So part of the permit, the text there requires consideration of incorporating more green infrastructure concepts into stormwater programs, more public notification. So construction notices of intent must be filed electronically and posted at the construction site. And then online disclosure. So we do that already on our website. We post the NOI, the stormwater management program plan, which will need to be updated with steam permit this following year, and the annual reports that we submitted this year on June 1st, 13th. So we submitted this one and posted online. So we have that available to comply with the permit. And looking at, these are the property locations that we identified, just looking at the parcel GIS system for the village. So these are the ones that appear to have some sort of parking lot or stormwater infrastructure. Starting in March 2027, these are anticipated to be the locations where we would inspect as well as catch basin inspections throughout the village.
So I'm assuming that's here, fire farm,
I would believe so.
and also,
Water, the water, or infrastructure.
oh,
The slush pad, maybe,
No, the water, the town.
or water.
oh, the tower area.
I see the right downtown, the water, or bottom, I see the towers.
Oh, I see, yes, the tower, and then, is the park in there as well?
Yeah, Federal Park.
Belling's in there. So it'd be Village Hall, Belling Park, Fire Farm, and the Water Tower property.
Oh, this one.
Okay. So these are all new requirements, right?
Which it is, yeah, the new ones. Kind of the intent is to, if there's any salt or runoff or oil leaks on the village property, that's kind of being contained and cleaned up before it gets into the.
And that starts next year?
So that starts March 2027, which is when the inspections, because that would cover the following year's annual report. So really, when it is submitted, it would be June 1st, 2028 to the IEP.
Do we have to update our GHA if we do? So we do. And then we'll just include
Yes,
these new provisions.
yes.
Okay. Very good.
Were you generally looking for the same things you would in the other locations?
Yeah, so the other ones are mostly like point discharge. This one would be more, I guess, like walking around. We still have to kind of figure out exactly what they're looking for. But it's probably just a kind of quick walk around, just making sure there isn't, just whatever visible is visible. Making sure we do the inspections during a dry period, so that's not, whatever's there doesn't get washed out by rain. So. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for your time. Any questions? Anything else?
Questions around the dice?
Yeah, I appreciate your coming, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. All good. Thanks for being here. And I mentioned to Christian that my daughter used to be here way back in the day. He says, "Oh, remain in compliance, and we have no issues. So we'll look forward to this again next year. Appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good rest of your night. You too. The other item of the President's remarks is the proclamation for Karen Lambert as we discussed in the committee of the whole. So I will take this time to read it for everyone in the public as well as the board. Village of Lake Barrington proclamation honoring Karen Lambert. Whereas Karen Lambert, president of the Advocate Good Shepherd Hospital, has served as a key leader to the hospital system since 2001 and has served as the hospital's fourth president. Whereas under Karen Lambert's leadership, Advocate Good Shepherd Hospital has had an incredible physical expansion and an expansion of highly sophisticated medical services, which has resulted in the hospital achieving some of the highest levels of national distinction, including magnet recognition, the highest honor for professional nursing practices. Whereas with Karen Lambert at the helm, Advocate Good Shepherd Hospital expanded its cardiac unit, renovated the emergency department, and increased outpatient care. Whereas under the direction of Karen Lambert, the Center for Health and Integrated Medicine was established at Advocate Good Shepherd Hospital. The center's mission is to bring conventional and complementary medicine together by emphasizing a holistic, multidimensional, patient-focused approach to health and wellness. Whereas under the stewardship of Karen Lambert, Advocate Good Shepherd Hospital established a Smart Farm, which has donated 5,000 meals to 7 food pantries and programs, including patients and teammates facing food insecurity. Whereas under Karen Lambert's leadership, Advocate Good Shepherd Hospital continues to regionally rank as number 11 in Illinois, number 11 in Chicago, and continues to receive the America's 100 Best Hospitals Award. Whereas the President and Board of Trustees of the Village of Lake Barrington desire to acknowledge the time and expertise so generously given by Karen Lambert to the residents of Lake Barrington, as well as to thank her for her long record of outstanding public service to all of Good Shepherd's service area, and to wish her well upon her retirement. And now therefore be it resolved by the President and Board of Trustees of the Village of Lake Barrington, Lake County, Illinois. The Village of Lake Barrington expresses its deep appreciation to Karen Lambert for her dedication and exemplary service to the community. Do I have a motion to approve this proclamation? Moved by Trustee Schaller. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Perkins. Sorry. Do we get a roll call, Mr. Boyce? Roll call. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Briner?
Yes.
Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Schaller?
Yes.
President Burke?
Yes, thank you. A note, Karen was invited to be here tonight. Unfortunately, she had a conflict and could not make it. Kevin Richardson also wanted to be here, but he's in London traveling. So unfortunately, we didn't have the opportunity to recognize Karen and have our former mayor with us. But she has been reached out to. If there's a future meeting that she's available, we'll find another way where we will present her with a framed edition of this sign, of course, and possibly then acknowledge her in person. But tonight, having gotten to know Karen very well, having probably many people at the dais who have in some way, shape, or form received services or know people who have received services at Good Shepherd Hospital, we know that we have a real gem in our backyard. We're very, very fortunate to have such high quality care here, and even more fortunate that Advocate Good Shepherd Hospital is so big on community outreach that they do things that most people aren't aware with food insecurity and just health education is key. They're huge in believing in prevention versus cure. Let's keep people from getting sick in the first place, much like the fire department prefer to prevent fires than to put them out, right? So we appreciate that as well. So we'll hope that, again, that we'll have an opportunity to thank Karen for her years of service in person. But I appreciate everybody's support of this, and we certainly wish Karen well in her retirement, which is at the end of June. We will also get a chance to meet her successor, hopefully sooner rather than later. It starts in July, who is an internal person, been with the hospital for many, many years. So we're excited. And that person has excellent credentials as well, so I'm sure they're going to Karen has done. So thank you. Item 6 is the first opportunity for the public to address the board on agenda items. I see that there was no one here, so we're going to move on to agenda item 7, which is the consent agenda, which we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items that we will approve in block. Am I correct?
Yes.
So those items are A, consideration of amending the professional services agreement between the Village of Lake Barrington and State Village of Illinois. B, consideration of a professional services agreement with Hamilton Associates of Barrington Hills. C, consideration of an addendum to the water and sewer rate study scope of Baker Tilly Advisory Group, LP of Indianapolis, Indiana, in the amount of $25,500. D, consideration of a fire alarm system replacement and upgrade for the Village Hall building in the amount of $28,905 for Fox Valley Fire and Safety. E, consideration to approve an agreement in the amount of $20,066 Corrective Asphalt Materials LLC of South Roxanne, Illinois for the reclamite application for the 2026 street resurfacing program. We discussed all of these in length with the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion or other questions from the board pertaining to these 5 consent agenda items?
Do you want to change the one
Yes.
to the amount up to $25,500 for item C?
Not, do we need to note that, Jim? Not to exceed, or can we just approve it as is?
Not that, I would add not to exceed.
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed the amount of.
Okay. Thank you, Sharon. I made a mental note that it got raised somehow. Thank you. Okay, so Chair would like a motion to approve in block the amended professional service agreement between the Village of Lake Barrington and St. Village, Illinois. A professional services agreement with Hamilton Associates, Inc. of Barrington Hills. Approve the addendum to the water and sewer rate study scope of Baker Tilly Advisory Group, LP of Indianapolis, Indiana, in the amount not to exceed $25,500. To approve the proposal for Fox Valley Fire and Safety of Elgin, Illinois, in the amount of $28,905, and to approve an agreement with Corrective Asphalt Materials LLC of South Roxanne, Illinois, in an amount not to exceed $20,066. Further authorize the village administrator to expend a contingency amount of 10%, $2,006.60, to cover any additions or changes to the unforeseen conditions, and authorize the village administrator to execute the necessary documents. Do I have a motion, please? Moved by Trustee Perkins and seconded by Trustee Hayes. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Brenner?
Yes.
Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Burman?
Yes, thank you very much. Next on the agenda, item 8 is the treasurer's report. Wow, the treasurer moved from there to there very stealthily. When I looked there, you had disappeared.
I said a little kid sitting here. This is, it's not
Well,
right.
welcome, Treasurer.
Well, thank you.
Take it away, please.
So very exciting tonight. Exciting, I know. It's hard to believe these numbers would be exciting, but we have 12 months of our fiscal year all before us tonight. We don't usually have that. So these are pre-audit numbers. I will say that I spent a fair amount of time with accountant Jenny, and we've done all the year-end accruals and journal entries. So I'm pretty certain that you won't see anything, you won't see something materially different when after the auditors are here. But anyways, I just wanted to mention that. So you'll see we end the year with assets totaling $5,427,000. Our liabilities are at $1,276,000, and our equity of $4,150,000. So we have total revenues for the year of $4,616,000. With expenses of $3,131,000 for a net income of $1,485,834, which is about $1,005,000. That's what we've been using during the year as sort of an estimated number during the year. So just to kind of be able to compare the 2 years side by side, we take out what we'll call the extraordinary items within the year, and that typically is road work, the we have backed out some of the DECO grants down below. When we do that, what we'll call our regular operation net income is for this year is $1,381,000 compared to last year of $826,000. So at the risk of sounding a broken record, it's pretty much sales tax and use tax is making up that big difference between the 2 years. We've talked about that pretty much for the last probably 3 or 4 or 5 months. If I were to adjust the expenses by taking that road work out, they're actually relatively close. We do have some, if you go through when you look through the comparisons between the 2 years, you'll see some numbers that are higher between the 2 years. And that would be some of those contracted services are up by inflationary, amounts. However, we have expenses that are down, so we have payroll expenses down and plan review services are down for this year compared to last year. So they pretty much even out for the year. So our expenses are about the same this year versus last year. As we look at the balance sheet, all those accounts have been reviewed and are in order tonight. We did talk about accounts payable earlier in the committee of the whole. There's also mentioned developers' impact fees is under liabilities at $60,786. That's actually impact fees, so that's money we can use towards roads. It's shown as liability. That's because we received the cash to put that liability on the balance sheet. When we go to use that money for road work, it's a no income statement effect because we pick up revenue and we pick up the corresponding expense. So that's just cash that's sitting there that can be used for future road work. So we'll keep moving along, and we'll see that this is the quarter end of the year, and at the end, so let's see, I believe it's page 12. We do a summary of all the non-NFT road maintenance by vendor. Up to $215,000, almost $210,000 is Cuba Township. $164,252 is for their monthly contract, and then there's $43,741 in various road patching, culvert replacement, some ditch work, those type of smaller things we use Cuba Township for. And then the smaller ones are for Lake County Treasurer and IDOT for just some small signal maintenance at those 2 locations. Okay, the next page we look at is my page 13, is the actual budget report. And so it's sort of interesting to see how we do on the budget. Our revenue is 124% actual budget, but once again, that sales tax number is bringing that over budget. Income tax a little bit higher than budgeted. I believe interest income is much higher than budgeted. If you recall, interest rates were supposed to come down this year. They kept talking about that last year. The rates did not come down. And we also started building up some very large cash balances that were earning those higher rates at as well. So interest income is about $40,000 over projected. It's at least going in the right direction. Our expenses are 91% actual budget. We have some, overall, we're under budget for expenses. We have some large ones coming in. Engineering services came a little bit higher than we expected. Sometimes what happens is road work is done for other years and it falls into that year. Other consultant is higher. That was the AMP consultant came in a little bit higher than we had projected. And then our interior building maintenance, that's higher than we projected because, the furniture came in higher, but as Sharon will tell you all the headaches that we have with all the major stuff that happened in indoor plumbing, that cost a fair amount of money this year. So that brought that number above budget for the year. But overall, we ended up the year in a very, very strong position. Okay, page 15, we start looking at the motor fuel tax fund. You can see at the end of fiscal 26, the fund has $671,000 in assets. We will hold that next year. The road work will take place out of the infrastructure fund next year, so that those cash reserves will just build up over the next year. They'll end up with another almost up to $900,000 by the time that end of fiscal 27 in that fund, all for road work. Okay. Okay, and we'll keep working through the report. The next thing to look at is the infrastructure fund. My expenses that went through that fund this year were reclamite and the engineer expense for some road work. And then going forward, there'll just be collections. Next year, road work will come from that fund, over $800,000. So I lost my pages here. I'm caught up in my file here for a second. Okay, well, that was infrastructure fund, so I don't think there's anything else that we need to talk about there. Page 21 is the water sewer fund. We have about $1.6 million in assets there at the end of this year, current assets, I should say, with, expendable cash. Looking at the actual budget report is sort of an interesting thing that kind of is to talk about, and that's on page 26. You'll notice that our billing revenue is down this year from last year, and our water treatment services are down, but not down as much as the billing revenue is down. I kind of call it our margin, so the revenue is, and we're taking to treat it, for the water, and then our direct cost to treat that water is the treatment services, and there's only about a $70,000 difference this year. That's really not very much money to cover all of our costs. And I was looking at why our billing revenue is down this year from last year. It's down almost 5%. Last year, you can see, it was $397,000. Our amount that we charge for the water has not changed. I did notice that we have one vendor whose usage is down considerably, and that's actually Speedway. And we haven't quite figured out why. It's hard to catch up with these numbers until the very end because we bill every 2 months, but we pay for service, we pay for treatment every month. And so we're going to look a lot closer into that. You can see that our treatment services, they go up each year by the MPI, so they go up about 2-3% this past year. It's with the loss in revenue, they didn't quite go up, the 5-3%. They want a smaller amount because of the revenue is down, but that's a concerning number. We keep having our revenues dropping each year, but our fixed costs remain the same. So we'll have to look a little more closely at that this year as we get into the year with that. And that's really much all I have. You will see that we do once a year. We'll give you the balance sheet and income statement for the open space fund. Only thing that goes through that fund is the real estate taxes come in to pay the bond, and then we pay the principal and interest twice a year out of that fund. And that is all I have for fiscal year 26. Any questions on any of the funds?
Thank you. Any questions for the treasurer on that?
Okay, I'll quickly review the warrants. Actually, the warrants are all very standard tonight. There's not many unusual ones to mention. There's just a few for Cuba Township, and those have to do with culvert work. You'll see on warrant A, there's 3 to Cuba Township for culvert repairs for replacement. $4,468.55, $8,693.52, $3,372.52. All the other warrants on here are you're used to seeing these. There's nothing unusual, but happy to answer any questions about any of the items on here.
Questions about the warrants? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Peggy. So we're going to go ahead and Chair would like a motion to approve in block financial statements as of April 30th, 2026. B, pay bills in the amount of $285,292.58 as listed on the accounts payable warrant A dated June 9th, 2026. Pay bills in the amount of $39,306.32 as listed on the accounts payable warrant B dated June 9th, 2026. And D, pay bills in the amount of $242.15 as listed on the accounts payable warrant C dated June 9th, 2026. Do I have such a motion, please?
So
Moved by trustee Hayes. Second by trustee Perkins. Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Brenner?
Yes.
Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Schauer?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes, thank you. Peggy, you're going to talk to now?
Sure, I can do that, sure. So we have the financial plan and the appropriation ordinance. The financial plan was discussed at length at the committee of the whole. Do I need to discuss that further in the meeting here tonight, or I guess I can touch on it briefly. As we discussed earlier, we have about $1.5 million in net income showing for fiscal 26, which will, you'll see that as estimated actual in the financial plan. The plan also includes the actuals for 23, 24, and fiscal 25. It shows the budget for fiscal 26, our estimated actual, and then the number we're all working towards for fiscal 27. We're looking at $3,914,000 of revenue, expected revenue, and then our expenses we're projecting at $3,476,000 for net income of $438,000. We will be transferring out $1,810,000 from the fund, and so we'll have a resulting change in fund balance of $1,371,670. Those transfers will come up in other discussion this evening. Of the expenses, most of the expenses are, in the budget are based on what happened this year. There are $258,000 in new one-time expenditures for fiscal 27. Some of those larger items include a business park plan for $50,000. The 4th of July celebration is going to be folded into the annual barn stock. That's an extra $17,000. The space needs study is $10,000. Gravel path $25,000. Demolition work at fire department $15,000. A refresh at Federal Wind Park for $20,000. A new bulletproof dais and reinforced office door for $35,000. An asset assessment of $7,000, and new security cameras and security system each at $10,000. Road work of about $700,000, along with engineering of $140,000 will take place out of the infrastructure fund this year. The general fund is also sending $310,000 to open space fund. We were content to defease part of the general obligation refunding bond series 2016. We'll do that October 15, 2026. Exactly. That's the first point that it can be done, because that's been 10 years since that bond's been refinanced. The water sewer fund will show budgeted loss of $410,000 in fiscal 27. That does include the acquisition of 3 generators at the cost of $225,000 for the 3. I think that's pretty much all I had to say. The appropriation ordinance, we did have a open meeting last month, public meeting I should say, and that is directly driven from the expenses in the budget. 20% over most expense items in the budget. Items in there also are in there at the actual dollar amount. It's $1.5 million going to the infrastructure fund. There are $310,000 going to the open space bond fund. Total appropriated numbers for this evening are, $8,552,624 is the total appropriations on the ordinance this evening. Cover enough?
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. We are going to be voting on these 4 items actually in block, but before we do that, just a couple comments. I don't think there's any additional questions. We've talked about this in the committee as a whole, but maybe for those watching at home, I don't want to skip over this too quickly, because it's pretty significant. First of all, Peggy, your team do a great job of putting this together. It's a tremendous amount of work, a tremendous amount of detail, and you are uncannily accurate with this most years when there's so many things out of our control. What is in our control is how we spend money on and how fiscally responsible we are. And the fact of the matter is our ability to pay down these bonds and our ability to fund the infrastructure comes from being good stewards of the taxpayers' money. And what that means is we've done a good job of generating additional revenue and a great job of managing our costs, while at the same time making sure that we're providing the highest level of service that our residents would expect us to do, and keeping the roads paved, and the garbage collected, and the police and fire services in check. So a lot of credit goes to the staff for this, and their good work makes us up here look good. So thank Sharon and staff for the great work that you do in managing these funds for us. So it's very exciting. Not very often do you see government entities and municipalities taking money out of the general fund that had become well-funded because of how fiscally responsible we've been, and using that to pay down bonds, which then reduces interest rate, which directly affects our taxpayers. Tax that they pay, what their burden is of that share, and also for us to be able to say that we're funding road work along with M&T out for the next 4 years, so that we are certain to be able to take care of those infrastructure needs that come up, and potentially, if possible, to advance them sooner if need be. So I'm really proud to be able to say that we've done this out of tremendous fiscal responsibility, and proud of everybody on the team who's done this. So thank you very much. So with that, Chair would like a motion to approve in block, accept the fiscal year 2027 financial plan, certified statement of revenues and fiscal policies. Motion to approve ordinance number 2026-0-09, appropriation ordinance for fiscal year ending April 30th. Oh, that's it? Oh, those two are blocked. Sorry, I'm confused. Okay. Do I have such a motion, please? Moved by Trustee Brand, seconded by Trustee Hayes. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Schauer?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes, thank you. Got it. Very good. So we have two other items that we need to move on. Consideration of engagement letter with Chapman and Cutter LLP of Chicago, Illinois, November 2000. Peggy, is there anything else that you want to add to that?
No, this will just put in process the defeasance of the certain of the bond we talked about earlier, and we have them all here.
Right.
Oh, sorry, we did that on
No, I'll repeat. So we're engaging with them. They're going to help us with the bond, with the process by which we're paying down some of these bonds, and that I spoke to a little prematurely. So we need their help, and they've given us a very good, fair price to do that. So any questions for the treasurer on that? No? So Chair would like a motion to approve engagement letter with Chapman and Cutter LLP of Chicago, Illinois, in the amount of $2,000. Do I have such a motion? So moved by Trustee Schauer. Second by Trustee Perkins. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Schauer?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes, thank you. Item G, consideration of a resolution authorizing the transfer of $1.5 million from the general fund to the infrastructure fund. We talked about this at length. We've talked about this for months and months and months. A tremendous amount of great work went into this from our treasurer and staff in presenting us a whole host of different ways that we could take excess general fund money and use it. And so therefore the determination was to use part of that to pay down a bond and the balance of that to fund future infrastructure projects, which I already spoke about. So with that said, I don't believe there's any other questions or concerns. So Chair would like a motion to approve resolution number 2026-R-06, a resolution authorizing the transfer of $1.5 million from the general fund to the infrastructure fund. Do I have such a motion? So moved by Trustee Perkins, seconded by Trustee Brainerd. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Schauer?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes, thank you very much. Next, agenda item number 9, which is the administrator's report. Sharon.
Thank you, President Burke. I have a few items for you this evening. The first item is I have a letter to the President and Village Board of Trustees from the Down Low Gardeners, which are the community garden group. Rebecca's included a couple pictures that were included with the letter. Dear President Burke and trustees, thank you very much for the terrific enhancements you have authorized for the Frywood Farm Community Garden. At the meeting last fall, you get a sense of how much this garden means to those who are using it. This spring, we welcomed 6 new gardeners. We are all truly grateful to have a plot and to have the village pay for excellent compost for all of us to use. We also appreciate the free wood mulch provided by Cuba Township in cooperation with the Village of Great Barrington. The recent addition of a storage shed, plus some new garden tools, has been great and much needed. The 4 new raised beds on 2 of the wet plots are a wonderful addition. All 4 are going to be used this year. One will be used by a long-term gardener who had dropped her flock due to severe back problems. When she heard about the raised bed, she was delighted to be able to continue gardening. So on behalf of the 23 plot owners, thank you very much for your support. We are all most grateful. Sincerely, Down Low Gardeners. Yeah. The second item I have for you this evening is I will be working with the gardeners of the shores over at Lake Barrington Shores. They were, the village donated some money to them for their garden earlier this year. We're going to be working on the butterfly garden over at Village Hall. It's kind of in sad shape. So Mary Albanese from LBS will be meeting with me on site at Village Hall on June 17th. We'll kind of go over what needs to be done and how to make it look better and function as it's supposed to. We're going to be updating all of our building codes to the 2021 version. Attorney Bateman has put together a draft ordinance that I have shared with Safeville. And Safeville and I have a kickoff meeting scheduled for Friday, June 12th to start that process. My next item is with the adoption of the appropriations ordinance and the approval of the financial plan, we can now move forward with some upgrades around Village Hall. We will be upgrading our cameras and security system, and I have a meeting scheduled for Thursday, June 11th with the Park District and the camera company, and we should be able to get better pricing by working in conjunction with the Park District on this project together. This will also include upgrading the cameras at Friar Farm. Last week, I had the pleasure of attending the ILCMA Summer Conference. It was a great event full of lots of networking and educational sessions. Some examples of the sessions I attended included leading through uncertainty, supporting mental health and wellness in the workplace, staying ethical during political distress, working with your village attorney, and protecting your right-of-way when internet service providers and fiber service providers come to town. Thank you for always being so supportive of myself and all of the staff and our professional development. That's all I have this evening.
Excellent report. Questions or comments?
I got a comment. So when the memo gets looked at, the code update, can you ask Safeville to highlight the major changes of those codes? Because my experience, sometimes you get caught off guard and just adopt it. So we could probably just, if they could just highlight the major changes and reflect on the type of projects we do in that village and address to that. Because I think that's worth understanding before we just sign up. Thank you.
What we did is basically compare the template, but Sharon's communication with Safeville is going to get into the details of what needs to be amended or overridden in those new codes.
Yeah, right. Just want to make sure we know before we sign up. But very boring.
Yes, I will make sure to do that.
For some, but fun for others.
Well, sure, boring for Rich.
I'm happy to hear that you're getting some nice positive orders rather than people just like.
Are those bad?
It is always nice to get positive.
Yes.
I believe they are. The gardeners have ordered them from Home Depot, and then we worked with Dory landscapers on installing, which was a good partnership as well. So we had ordered and delivered to Friar Farm, and then Dory came out and put them all together and put them in the right spots.
Thank you for that excellent and very uplifting report.
You're very welcome.
All right. Okay. Rebecca, do you think you can top that? I mean, with the course
Absolutely
report?
not. I'll try my best. Business licensing update. Licensing was due on April 30th, as it is each year. The village has currently received 194 applications,
performance of tenants with that accountability and compliance has really helped a lot. I think the expectations from the building owners and the businesses has positively increased in their understanding. So, and I have actually had not a lot of bad feedback or pushback from business owners this year about any inspections or any requirements. They've actually it's just, people forget, and that's the only hold up for them is that they just forgot to do it and now they're late. But I anticipate that we'll have about 60 late people this year, so that's typical. So one side told them that they're going to get a citation, then they get into shape. So we're anticipating that to occur at the end of this month for sure. And then the village hall will be closed on July 3rd for Independence Day. It won't affect your garbage services as a Friday, so everything will remain the same. And then just interesting, Swalco is doing the House with Chemical Waste event, and it's actually going to be at Zurich High School, so that's close by. So if you have any paint or anything that you want to dispose of, you just have to make that appointment. I encourage people to tell their neighbors or whoever. I've shared that information on our Facebook and our website, and that's on Saturday, July 18th. So it's coming up soon.
Thank you, Rebecca. Any questions for the clerk? I don't know if you topped the administrators, but I think you equaled it because that's very exciting to hear about, particularly the business license stuff, and that is because of your the changes over time to your process and your persistence and the work that you guys have done. So congratulations. I'm actually very happy for you because ultimately it simplifies your life, it simplifies all of our lives, and gets us knowing who and what is doing business. So I know it's been a long road. I know we've had a lot of fits and starts, but that's the learning process. And certainly I hope you feel supported by sharing myself and the rest of the board that that's important work. We want to continue. We want to know who's doing business in our park. We want to make sure we're doing it in a safe and clean manner. And that's what this is all about. So this isn't like a willy-nilly thing, that there's a real reason that we want to do this and we want to come with this. So thanks to the directors to do that. I'm very excited to hear that we're moving forward with that and stuff. So very good. We'll move on to trustee reports. Number one, Barrington Communications. Trustee Manrani is not here. Does you have one thing?
Just one quick update, and I'll conclude this as my weekly update to everybody. In the, I don't know the name of the magazine, Country magazine comes out. There's a nice article on Honey Lake Bee Company. So I can make a copy for everybody to include it in your weekly update.
So we did next time.
It is very nice article. Very, very nice.
Great, thank you. Next, economic development, Trustee Hayes.
No certificate updates this month.
I'm up next. External relations. I've got two things, two kind of meaty things. The first one is that Springfield General Assembly wrapped up their spring session last week, and just like 4 bullet points I think people would appreciate hearing. One, the governor's bill agenda did not advance any of the House or the Senate. That's something we talk about a lot. That's something we've been posting on our Facebook site. And just a reminder of our residents and everybody who might be watching that that's an initiative that's trying to generate additional affordable housing. And as a board, we are not anti-affordable housing, but we're anti-one-size-fits-all for every community. The reason we think it's bad for our community is because it gives the state broad reach in terms of how we govern ourselves in terms of our ordinances, etc., and zoning, and kind of dismisses a lot of that, and it doesn't take into account infrastructure, doesn't take into account sewer and water, lack thereof, roads, etc., and access to that. So you can't just indiscriminately start adding higher density housing to a community if the infrastructure isn't designed to it, or just decide that you have an empty lot or enough room in your backyard that you could build another house there because there stood up and opposed this particular thing. So the fact that it didn't even get talked about says it has a lot of work to do. Now, they can come back to it, and they will come back to it and be rewritten, but for now, the Build Act is moving forward, so we think that that's good news, and what we think is that means there's a lot of restructuring that needs to take place before they want to bring that back. We talked earlier, the threat to cut LGDF funding didn't happen, so our local share remains 6.47%. We also talked about the annual hike in the gas tax will be paused for 6 months, designed to provide just pause and then it will return just relief for Illinois voters who are feeling the burden of higher gas prices right now. And then, of course, a much discussed Bears deal happened. So they're now bluffing their way to saying they're moving to Indiana. We'll leave that when I see that. The second item I have on here, which is maybe new to some of you, and you'll hear more about this. It's really kind of a BACOG update, but in our last BACOG meeting, we invited Dr. Craig Winkleman, who's the school board superintendent, District 220 superintendent, and the school board president to attend the BACOG meeting because we had gotten wind of a new proposed retail sales tax being proposed by the county board of education. So it's the Lake County Board of Education that is proposing a 1% sales tax that would go to Lake County school systems. Okay, this is not new to Illinois. This is happening all over South and Central Illinois, and now it's rearing its head up here. The proposed idea behind it is if you put a 1% sales tax on retail in Lake County, that the data suggests that almost 50% of the retail sales tax spend comes from outside of the county. So the idea is, hey, people outside of Lake County are footing half the bill. Okay, so that may or may not be true. The issue that we have with this, and BACOG municipalities unanimously let Dr. Winkleman know that this is a terrible idea. And it's a terrible idea on a couple of fronts. One is, why did the school system need more money? It's had 2 referendums for $150 million. It's the lion's share of the tax bill. If you look on your tax bill, they spend more money than anybody. And we as municipalities, to steal the words from Mike Bryan, the village president in Barrington, we're cutting pennies in half, to keep our cities running. And you guys are on a money grab. And the taxpayers have been taxed enough. You don't need another revenue stream. Was basically the message that we delivered. Now, so I just wanted everyone to know that BACOG is standing up against this. What's the process? The process is it has to go to a referendum anyway. The process is that 50% of the school systems in Lake County have to approve it. Well, I think that's been done. And just so you know, District 220 did approve it. So their board unanimously approved to go forward with this tax. That's the other thing we took exception with. Why did you just say, no, we have enough money, we don't need to keep taxing our residents? They did it differently. And so it will go to a referendum on the November ballot. So we will be talking more about this because we really think it's a bad idea. And we can talk as a board about that as well, but I'm just letting you know that that was my position, and that was that of my colleagues on BACOG. And we don't know. We would be somewhat shocked if the residents approved this, but I think what you're going to find is that one data point, you're going to be told 2 things. Half of the tax is coming from somebody outside of Lake County, so the burden's not all on you. And 2, know that there are provisions by which we can abate your taxes with the money that we collect. So out of a show of hands, I would say whoever's lived in Barrington for the last 30 years, how many times has the school district ever updated taxes? Ever? 0. So when they said they could choose to abate taxes, they could choose to. It means it's an option. One of the things that we said could have said no more taxes. And then the money came and you said, we didn't ask for it, but we got it anyway. So more to come on that front, but I just want to give people a heads up. And you'll be hearing a lot more about that. I'm sure it will become quite contentious. And all sides will be out there talking about this when it comes closer to the November election. Questions or comments on that?
Countywide?
Countywide, yes. So it's actually being put forward by the county board of education.
I do have a comment.
Yes.
I would think it would have been appropriate for the school district to approach a body like ours and just let us know what they were thinking in advance of that even thinking about it, so we wouldn't be dealing with us in the back. So,
Yes, thank you for that. We expressed those concerns as well, that really for the county, I mean, technically, see, 220 kept saying, we didn't ask for this, and they're not incorrect. They didn't ask for this. This is a county-wide initiative. So the county is the one who really dropped the ball and didn't come and engage anybody. The county just said, and here's what's interesting. The county says, we'll take this to the school districts, and we'll let them decide if it's going to go on a referendum. So what happened was the school districts get that, and they say, oh, well, we don't really think it's for us to decide. We think the voters should decide. So what happens is they all say yes, and then they put it in the voters' lap and say, we'll put this on the voters. So that was the other defense that the school system says is, the county wants to do it, so we think we shouldn't say no for the voters. We think we should let the voters decide. So it's like a pass-through. So it goes from the county to the district to the residents, and nobody stands up and wants to talk. Nobody wants to talk about it. The other thing that will be interesting is I don't think 220 is actually going to take a stand on this at all. I think they're going to just watch from the side, if I had to guess. So that's what my insiders on the knowing board said. They're not probably going to take a stand. They're probably going to try to act neutral. But I guarantee you there will be not neutral parties in this who will be advocating heavily with a lot of money to get this passed. So stay tuned. Just giving you a heads up. Thanks for humoring me on that.
thanks for the input.
Yeah, and I would say to you, one other just little peek under the tent, there were some pretty heated exchanges. There were some mayors and presidents who were very upset with the school board, and they were upset about taxes, and they're like, no more tax, like we're taxed to death in Illinois, like we need another tax like the hole in the head. And school boards need to figure, at some point the school boards need to be as fiscally responsible. And one of the quotes of one of the mayors were, you all need to be as fiscally responsible as every mayor and president in this room, because we're beyond reproach. The way we manage our finances is beyond reproach. And if we start spending willy-nilly, we're going to hear about it. Trust me. We don't get the freedom to just do nice things because we want to. We have to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So, very interesting meeting, but I certainly appreciated Dr. Winkleman and the school board president for being there and listening. And they did listen, and they heard, and they took some of that back. So, that's the end of my report. Moving on, Finance, Human Resources Administration. Mr. Trustee Sean was not here. I didn't need anything for you. That brings us to roads and infrastructure. Trustee Gray.
Thank you. As we move into road construction season, commonly known as summer, I have been watching the asphalt prices. I've been monitoring them since January, and they actually are staying pretty level, which shocks me. So that made me feel a little better about as we go into the market for that. Reclamite, on the other hand, is where the price increase is coming from, and we need to look at ours again because across the nation it's 6 to 8% increase. We're a little on that. So one of the other ways, though, that we can keep our prices down, because we're looking for any opportunity we can, is we're going to be going into bidding with North Barrington as part of our amount. That will slow down things a little bit for us. Originally, we were going to be able to vote on everything in July. Now it's going to be into August. But we will get a benefit out of it. And that is the end of what I have to say.
Thank you. Questions for Trustee Gray? I have one question. you ever in your wildest dreams imagine sitting at this dais and saying that you've been monitoring the asphalt process?
Actually, I used to have a whole index fund that I monitored of exciting things like that.
Well, there you go. So it's right up your alley. Well done. Asphalt Valley, very good. Thank you. Public safety, Mr. Schauer.
Thank you, President Burke. Sergeant, there's been an awful lot of activity, news-wise, activity-wise, my favorite topic, what's happening with electronic vehicles, scooters, bikes, the 3 stages. LBS just sent out a memo today about what you can and can't do, that when even if you're running a bicycle, you got to stop at stop signs. As I followed a guy that ran through all 3 stop signs on a bicycle. And then, unfortunately, there have been a number of instances where people have gotten hurt, or if you go on social media, 3 kids coming out of a Taco Bell that could have gotten easily hit behind a car. And I know the county's doing something in the state, but any further information on that?
Now with us, we're developing county ordinance, so the same ordinance I gave you last meeting. Word for word for the county, we're trying to get the contracted villages to adopt it also to help us out, but nothing else new on it. We're just monitoring it. We're constantly getting calls on it daily, at least in different parts of the county. These kids are flying around and neighbors are just going to the neighborhood, they're trying to drive speed limit, and these kids are coming out from a side street, not following the stop sign regulations, and almost getting hit. Last month, on the way here, we had an incident where the juvenile struck the vehicle because they weren't paying attention. They don't understand the rules of the road. 11, 12 years old, they're flying around 20 miles an hour. It is an issue we're trying to address.
If somebody would post it on, again, social media, some guy commutes from Elmhurst to downtown Chicago on his EV and does 65 miles an hour, and people say, whoa, can you go that fast? Yes, they can. It's not a motorcycle, it's an electric bicycle. So, obviously something that, it's an accident waiting to happen, and it has already happened. Sooner we can address it and try to enforce it, the better it'll be for all. But there's just an awful lot of young people out there and these things that are, have no, just, it's an accident part of this.
A big part of this is, there's so much you can do with enforcement, but education is the key.
Yes.
We got to start educating people. And I think once we have kind of this common set of rules and regulations, and we can be participants in all of this, and I'm sure Lake County Sheriff's Office will do the same, where once we have this information that we start getting out, the parents don't take the step, it's very difficult, right? I witnessed something a few weeks ago driving down Old Barrington Road that I wish I had a dash cam because I would have loved to show this footage, but 2 young men pulled out of a subdivision on what I would call electric dirt bikes, mini bikes. No helmets, came out of the subdivision in front of me, took off down Old Barrington Road. By the looks of them, they were maybe 12 or 13. They certainly weren't drivers at age. And they don't care that I'm behind them. So I'm patiently, next thing I know, they're popping wheelies and they're driving down Old Barrington Road on one wheel, like stunt drivers. In front of me. And I thought, one of these guys wipes out, that's going to be bad news, right? So I keep following them, and I thought, could this get any worse? And then we got to the cutoff at the trail on Barrington Road across from my subdivision and turned onto the trail and took off down the trail, which is also not legal to operate those motor vehicles on our trails. So I'm like, how many laws did they just break? Right. I should have got my badge out.
Right, yeah.
But I mean, it was really stunningly remarkable for what they did. Pull in front of me, pop wheelies, riding on the road, no helmets, then onto the trail. I mean, they clearly, I have to believe their parents know what they're doing, right? I don't know that they're doing that in secret.
The world knows you'd be surprised at how many times this happens in front of us instructors. Actually, this happened to me Friday. Four-wheeler, pop wheelie, and they're wearing, most of them are wearing helmets, and they have GoPros, and they're posting stuff online. That's what they're doing. They look back at us, and eventually they pull off the road onto dirt road, and then we can't follow them anymore. And now we're just calling out.
Yeah.
So it's very, very common.
It's about education. I mean, my point is, eventually we have to educate, we have to get parents involved, and then there's even discussion about, that the parents are held accountable for the actions of their kids in that situation.
And that is the importance of at least having an ordinance, not being in with issuing of ordinances, educate the public. It's what we like to do too. So we give out so many warnings to try to educate the public, but eventually at some point you get that problem child, that adult that is constantly doing it. Eventually it's like, hey, you know what, we gave you too many chances. And
I took the fighting comment on this. I read the law that was passed by the House and the Senate. It's going to be presently for signature. It regulates these all throughout the world.
Right.
What is completely absent in any law is anything about education. It's strictly about how old you need to be, and depending on the class of the vehicle, depends on the age. And it does nothing to do exactly what we're talking about here. So if we do something, the state can address that. So.
What is there any structure for penalties? Right, so if you did pull somebody over, other than a slap on the wrist, is there?
If they're on the roadway, in any capacity, obstructing the flow of traffic, we can still issue citations. I mean, if you're just a person walking, you're obstructing the flow of traffic, and you're walking in a pedestrian area, there's citations for that. So there's Illinois statutes for that, we can make those different. So the same will apply to ours. So there is some level of that, this at the state level.
You can do something. Okay. You expressed to me, obviously, growing amount of activity, that we think we're in this safe environment, nothing ever happens, but there has been an increase of certain amounts of activity in southwest Lake County.
Yeah, there has been, I like to keep stats, just to keep some numbers. Our deputies that are assigned to cover Lake Barrington also cover North Barrington, but stats specific for Lake Barrington. This calls for service that are dispatched to the deputy or that they create themselves from May 5th until June 8th, so yesterday. We had 598 calls created. Alarm calls, 8 calls, traffic related, 8 medical related, jumped up a little bit, 70 calls for service, so we're either assisting the fire department, they're calling for our assistance, mental health calls. Non-criminal went down a little bit, 12 calls for service over that month period. Criminal related calls jumped up 48 from 12. But a lot of these, when I was looking at the stats, were order protection services, restraining orders, and those are related to some domestic, increase in domestic calls. But when we go to domestic calls, it could be an actual battery, or someone's getting hurt, or just a verbal disagreement, and we get dispatched someone calls. So it's not necessarily anything too serious. And then accidents related, 8 calls, and everything else, then that's just our extra patrols, where we're hitting subdivisions, homes, businesses.
A lot of business checks too.
Yeah. Like I said, if they're not doing anything, we tell them, just patrol the areas, be visible in the neighborhoods and the business parks, so we know that we're out there.
Just want residents to know that the police protection that we have is fantastic from the sheriff's department, and you can see, they don't just patrol around, they do respond to various issues. Some of which we are aware of right now.
Yeah. And he said the little speed is the Lake Barrington car, if they're on something, we do have our District 3 cars, so they will come and make it something significant.
Yeah, but a couple of times when the report, all of a sudden you got 3 or 4 squads that respond, so that's the one advantage is when needed, you're there. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir.
I just want to express my gratitude to the Wakanda Fire Department medics that were there. I don't think they were required to respond to anything, but when you got 404 people and you probably got another 100 volunteers helping with this effort, it's nice to have them around. We appreciate the fact that they were there. And as I said, I think it was a successful event. Again, this Memorial Day, don't know how much they raised, but they have raised up over $20,000 for this race. It's beneficial for not only veterans, but also they contribute some of their funds. And that's it. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm also happy to report that Trustee Schaller is volunteering there. Trustee Van Ryan and her daughter were walking. Trustee Schallmelder, his wife and son were walking. I saw former trustee General Randy Rigby was volunteering, and many others. So there was good representation.
You were there in this group.
Oh, and I was there. I won the whole thing. I didn't want to bring it up. Yeah, I got the Medal of Honor. Senator Harvey Hills was there. It was a nice program prior to, so it was well attended. They're getting bigger every year. So I mean, it's only 5 years old. It takes time, but they're gaining really nice momentum. It's kind of a fun little tour. I mean, I haven't done it before, so it's a nice tour through the neighborhood. Yeah.
So the Zurich running club is held by Rolling, so it's held in.
Thank you, Trustee Schaller. Next, open spaces special events, Trustee Perkins.
Thank you. All I have is our summer concert series, Sunset Serenades, starts next Thursday, June 18th, with the Latchkey Kids. It's going to be a fun event. Hopefully we're going to fingers crossed for no rain and very light mosquitoes. Although we have Dora coming out to take care of that. Also, other dates are July 16th and August 20th. These are all the third Thursdays of the month, and 6:30 to 8:30. Good times. Bring out your blanket and some snacks or sandwiches or whatever you like, and beverages, and have a good time. And then we have Barn Stomp October 3rd. And I believe, that's the information we're going over right now. That's going to be a really fun time. We're still, Rebecca constantly, she's amazing. She's always taking care of business for that, and I appreciate her so much. And we're still doing planning and talking on that as well. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Trustee Perkins? Okay. Next up is all business. There is none. Ordinances, there are none. Resolutions, there are none. New business, there is none. Next opportunity for the public to address the board, and there are none.
I have one more thing I wanted to say. I'm sorry.
Are you looking as a public person?
I'm not the public, but yeah, before you say. Oh, sorry.
Did you want to go out there?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to say congratulations on your retirement, Mr. Schaller, on your many years of excellence. The shortest, whatever. And congratulations on your retirement and all the years of service that you have been into over the past several decades, it says. And also congratulations to Brenda for taking on some new responsibilities at LBS.
So let's be clear, John is not retiring. He simply is still on our board, and he let me become our representative. So just.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah, right. I'm still on the board.
Okay.
Being president for over 30 years, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's been-
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, and one as a public spokesman too, not related to that. We had an experience last week with Commonwealth Edison, and I don't know from an emergency standpoint anything could be done, but at 10:30 one evening the power went out. So since I don't have a hardline phone, I went to try to use my cell phone, went downstairs to figure out the comment number, which I now We don't recognize that. So finally, after frustration, some guy finally picked up, hello? I said, they've had a power outage, they're just like the report, that's all. Oh, really? Okay. So he reported it at 10:30. Maybe about a half hour later, there was a truck up the block. It was somewhat limited in LBS. There was a truck up the block, just trying to get transformer that's been out there for years. They checked it out. 15 minutes later, the truck leaves. Lights are still up. So at 11:30, I tried to call again. When you hit the system, if you hit 1, I want to do this. No. Hit 2, no. 3, no. I called 4 times. I hung up 4 times to try to
Right there.
It was. To try to talk to somebody. Finally, on the 4th attempt,
The lights came on.
no, I finally got Niall or somebody else to say, you got a problem? I said, yeah, I announced this outage about an hour ago. I said, there was a truck here, he left, I don't know what's going on, well, let me check. 5 minutes later, he gets back on the line, he said, well, we had the crew out there, but we had to call in backup. Okay, we think we have a cable problem. Okay, hopefully it'll be back on maybe by 1:15. So the power did come back on about 1 o'clock. But it's amazing that they have this system, that it's so messed up that number one, it doesn't recognize who's calling, and then you can't get a hold of anyone, even if you do have the information. So I mean, it's frustrating. I know we've had the same problem with ComEd being responsible for a line they put in and creating a sinkhole. But a big company, they finally responded, the crew came out. But I just think someone needs to be aware of the fact that even their emergency system has got some problems.
Yeah, John, just real quick, they don't spend any money there because they get judged on upfront. And that's done by the federal, so they get big trouble when they're down. But everything's automated now. Nobody needs to call, they know everything's in. You have a smart meter, they know everything that's going on in the system. So that's why the company is frustrated. But they don't need residents to call when you have an outage.
So you used to be able to get online and call, and they give you some estimated time.
I agree with that. Excuse me,
Yeah, right.
I'm just going to go through it.
Anyway, that's it.
I think that you and Trustee Perkins are in some cahoots. You just keep talking until it gets dark out.
Yeah, right, yeah. That's good.
I was going to say, I think you should discuss.
That's